Welcome to Radically Distinct Radio with Jenn Morgan. Radically Distinct Radio bridges the worlds of brand marketing and professional development to help you take control of your future and build your brand to accomplish your goals. Whether you're an individual trying to reinvent yourself to launch a new venture, or you're an executive trying to reposition your company to modernize your sales and marketing programs, Radically Distinct Radio provides insights for how to show up in the world as your most powerful brand. As a brand strategist, advertising producer, and business coach, Jenn Morgan has 15 years experience helping individuals, teams, and companies create stories that inspire action. Her RAD method empowers people to be radically distinct by giving them a framework for perceiving their brand and expressing their value that sets them in a class of their own. Now, she brings the RAD method to the airwaves to help you maximize your brand power to produce results. Here's your host, Jenn Morgan.
Hey, everybody. Welcome, 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 welcome. It is so great to have all of you tuning us in and turning us on. Love, love, love doing it. And, you know, part of what we get to do here is we get to chat with some of the most incredible people. For those of you out there, this is Radically Distinct Radio. Jenn Morgan is in the house. Yes, Radically Distinct Radio. Be your most powerful brand. Access your passion today is what we're talking about. Jenn, of course, is the creator of Radically Distinct, but also the RAD Method. And what we're talking about is how she identified how to go about being radically distinct. Hence, you have the RAD method. But beyond all of that, she's somebody that shows up in the world to help other people show up in the world. Not just show up in the world in a kind of, mediocre, I'm doing okay kind of way. No, radically distinct way. That's how it is. That's what she does. And if you take a look at the world that she's developed out of, 15 years in businesses, helping people, working for large corporations, identifies with some of the most powerful brands we know of today. And, here she is looking at how she wants to be in the world now and says, wait a minute. Not only can these companies be radically distinct, but so can you. And so this is what we've done. She's identified, pillars of the RAD method. And today, one of my favorite things to talk about is passion. What is it and what it's not? That's what you're going to hear from her today. Not only is it the first pillar of what, the RAD method stands for, but without it, you'll hear what might show up in your life. Jenn, great to have you. Welcome.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited.
Yeah. So this is now like a couple of shows under your belt with us here.
Yes.
Okay. Tell us what's going on. How many people have you met? What's going on out there in Radio Land for you?
Oh, I'm getting so much attention. I love it. It's wonderful. I have a new friend. His name is Joe Saviano from New York City. We've been talking. He's been asking questions online. And if you have any questions, you can find me over on Twitter at Jenn Morgan Brand. Also, my friend Ken Polson at Wolfson Digital, I call him my most loyal and active listener because every time anything comes out about the show, he's on it.
Cool.
And also, I just want to, before we get started, I wanted to say congratulations to Keith Anker, who's the producer of the podcast aspect of this radio show. He just had a baby. Yeah. So
nice.
exciting. His name is James.
The baby's name is James?
The baby's name is James.
Very sweet.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
A lot of things giving birth here, huh?
Yeah.
In all sorts of forums about what birth is like and how to do that, including you.
Including me.
I know. What do you think about this passion topic today?
I when I started to write on the passion topic, I was surprised at how easy it was.
I know. Isn't that fun?
Yeah. It's sort of something I stress out about a lot of different things, but this one was the one that came out pretty easy.
It does. And it's easy when it comes from you because, part of this is really, looking at what you do and helping other people. And this is really the bedrock for it. Yeah. This is that thing. And, you did not know this, but this is a live call-in show. And if people are listening to it and they would like to call in for the show today, Benny's great at picking that phone up. I mean, I don't think they'll ever get off of the phone with Benny to come in, actually. But they can call in, 1-800-930-2819. That is our toll-free number. That thing's been with us for like a lot of years. 1-800-930-2819. All right, let's talk about passion. And, to begin with, the RAD method for people that missed the last show. Tell people a little bit about what that is. And let's talk about how passion got to be the first pillar, what it is.
Okay, so the RAD method is a brand development strategy for maximizing your power to produce results. And it has a very broad application. You can use it in business for a lot of different things, such as executive leadership development, their ability to have a perception of who they are and the impact that they make, as well as sales and marketing performance. And it also has a usage in life aspects. So you can use it to develop your career or to completely redesign your lifestyle. But although it has a broad application, it has a very specific focus, which is to increase the rate at which you build relationships, one connection at a time. And what makes it unique amongst other brand development strategies out there is that it's based on how humans interact naturally, and how do we bring ideas to life? How do we as people bring ideas to life? And I have found that is different than just having like a great idea that you develop in a boardroom. Yeah. It's something that, you're interacting with individuals and their belief about what they can do either empowers them to take the next step or holds them back.
I love this topic because I love the RAD method because, what it does, it really opens up doors for people both mentally, spiritually, and physically. It opens those doors up for them to see the world of possibilities. Without passion, though, we tend to run into a number of roadblocks that don't necessarily need to be there. So what is passion? What does it mean? And, how can people identify when it's missing in their lives?
Okay, well, passion is, oftentimes I hear people talk about passion as something outside of themselves, like my passion is music or my passion is helping people. Your passion really, if it's outside of yourself, then you're going to have a hard time getting motivated. So what I like the quote by Dirty Jobs guy. Sorry, I'm just like lost.
Mike Rowe.
Mike Rowe, thank you. Mike Rowe, he says,
Benny, you're the man.
Saved me.
Gotcha.
Save.
Mike Rowe has this quote, and he says, don't follow your passion, bring it with you. So your passion is something that is within yourself. And when you can get access to it, you can inspire yourself. It's not about being inspired for something else. The other thing I think is that people often talk about it, losing their passion way too lightly. Really, if you think about it, if you lose your passion, what you're saying is you're losing your desire to live. That's a big deal. And if you've ever been depressed or you've ever really had a hard time with wanting to live, you don't take losing your passion lightly.
Yeah.
So your passion is the emotional energy that you put into what you do. Without it, it's like running on an empty tank of gas. You're running on fumes. You're stuck in one or two emotions that are hard to get out of. And after a while, you really don't even know if you can get out of those emotions. You're just sort of stuck. And when you're in touch with your passion, you're able to channel that into what you're doing. It's like having a full tank of gas. There's a sense of ease to the things that you're doing. You can bring a sense of enthusiasm. And although things might be challenging or difficult, you can persevere much easier because you are able to move between a whole range of emotions that you have access to, and without disengaging, without cutting yourself off from the way that you feel about them in order to complete the job.
Well, you also talk about the idea of, listen, we can identify what it looks like when you don't have passion, if you're walking around without it. Clearly we have an epidemic, I believe, of that going on right now. And I would love for you to talk about this because you said something really interesting. A lot of times we are comparing ourselves to other people, and we start to do that comparison, and all of a sudden we're deflated. We feel deflated. What is the impact of walking around here without passion?
Well, I think what happens is that you're not really living on purpose. You're not doing the things that you have the possibility to do, which after a while, I think we know what we want. I don't think that we let ourselves know what we want.
I get it.
And that's our challenge a lot of times. And so when we're not doing those things, then we end up sort of suppressing the way that we feel. And we don't like to deal with things like depression or anxiety or all those, what we call dirty feelings. And so after a while, those dirty feelings just pile up one on top of each other, and then before you know it, you have this sort of pig pen-like dark cloud hanging over top of yourself, and then you don't really actually even know where that came from or how to get rid of it, and it's much easier to stay there. People don't want to be around you, and so now you're pushing people away from you. So now you have some idea for change, and nobody really wants to talk to you because you don't have a lot of close relationships. So it's this self-perpetuating thing where you feel bad about yourself, and then you just keep feeling bad about yourself, and it just becomes this dark, gloomy aura.
Well, yeah. And I think that, part of this is looking at what the components of passion are. And you've identified 3 aspects to passion, right? And I've got to imagine that you've gone through part of this with yourself. I mean, your whole journey has to have really at some point touched upon passion, with it and without it. Otherwise, I don't think you'd be talking about it. What are the 3 aspects of passion?
Well, the 3 aspects are purpose, perseverance, and living truthfully. And yeah, you're right. I have actually, some people will say to me, if I could just bottle up a little tiny bit of the passion that you have, Jen, I would be so much more, whatever. And, I think that's comparing yourself to me would be not a very good thing, since that's what I do for a living. However, I think that when you really want to take a look at how passion shows up in someone's life like mine, I in 2009, I produced a Coca-Cola campaign that was a pinnacle of my career. And it's the honor to be able to work with a brand that big, and it looks good on my resume. There's a lot of great things about it. But after that, I just went into this really depression, this deep depression. And then right about that time, like I said, it was 2009, the recession hit. So I was feeling crappy about myself, and then everybody else around me started freaking out about the world. And before I knew it, I didn't even want to get out of bed. And, when you're somebody who, I've been independently employed for 15 years. At the time, it was like 9 years or something like that. And I you can't just not market. Like, that doesn't happen. You can't just go in and punch the clock. You all of a sudden just not getting out of bed that's really, detrimental to your livelihood.
Yeah.
So, I, after getting sick of myself and having a lot of people call me telling me about how their life was hard, I started a mastermind group. And in the mastermind group, I found that, we all of us had lost touch with what really mattered to us. And I personally, I had a purpose when I left college. It was to make ideas real. But the world around me had changed, and I had changed. I had accomplished that goal. I was making ideas real at a big level. So I needed to change my purpose. I needed to adjust it. I needed to grow. So I'm like being all upset because the world around me has changed, and yet I actually have changed. And so once I realized that, I realized I had all these accomplishments that I had, instead of seeing myself as going down a dead-end path, which is what I think happens when you see that the world around you is changing. Maybe your career path is gone, or you're in a job that you hate all of a sudden. You just start looking at how bad your life is, instead of looking at, what, I've grown, I've changed, I've developed, I've outgrown the situation. I need something new. And so that's what happened in the mastermind group. I just was like, oh, I have the opportunity to do a new purpose, So I came up with a new purpose, which was to honor uniqueness through creative communication on the leading edge with heart. And before I knew it, I was coaching people who were transitioning their businesses, trying to learn how to apply sales and marketing skills. And here I am with the RAD method, which honestly, right now, if you don't know what makes you, it's not enough really to be different in the world. You have to be radically distinct.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and this is part of the conversation. We're going to talk about these 3 aspects when we come back. We're going to talk about a purpose. And first of all, what is purpose? What do we think purpose is? And why do we get so confused around purpose and passion? Well, Jenn is in the house to really help us really clarify some of that. Some days you wake up, if you're me, and all you want to do is play ping pong. There are days like that. And you know what? There's nothing wrong with that. Stay tuned, everybody. We're going to take a short break. We'll be right back with Jenn Morgan, Radically Distinct Radio, everybody. Stay tuned. And by the way, like I said before, if you do have questions, 1-800-930-2819. We'll be right back.
Transformation Talk Radio is dedicated to the education and awareness of Lyme disease.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to Lyme Talk Radio. I'm Dr. Pat, joined here by
Dr. Nusheen Darvish.
Dr. Pat Basili and Dr. Nusheen Darvish will be bringing the most innovative, groundbreaking information, research, treatment innovations, and stories from those it affects every day.
I'm so excited to be talking about this.
We have so much to share.
Dr. Darvish and I are planning to do is connect the dots.
People suffering with all sorts of chronic diseases. It's time. It is